Hello and welcome to Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast. I've been doing this podcast for a couple of weeks, months already, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to meet some very cool people. But the person that I have on the podcast today, I'm definitely very proud of having him on the show. He's been an inspiration to me, and I feel so lucky that I have him on the podcast here today. So let's go check out who we have on the show today.
First impressions, absolutely sensational. So cheers. Here's to a great flight.
With its happy intro tune and catchy catchphrase, Dennis has inspired millions of viewers. And although it looks like all he does is flying business class and first class, he seemed to have remained a humble and down-to-earth Aussie. He's definitely been an inspiration to me, so I'm incredibly proud to have him on the podcast here today. Welcome to Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast, Dennis Bunnik. Hello, Dennis. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. It's
good. I thought you were going to say, look, I've had some really good people on this channel, on this series, but today we've scraped the bottom of the barrel. We've had to go all the way down to Australia and have Dennis come on. We couldn't get anybody else.
Well, it's not that bad. I mean, you're pretty funny. This is what I said to Jeb. You and Jeb should do a comedy duo together.
That was we had that little session in his studio where we just had the camera rolling, and unfortunately the camera ran out of batteries, and we were gone for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and it was just back and forth. It was actually lots of fun. Whether other people would enjoy it and appreciate the sense of humour, I don't know. But it was
Banter.
good fun. He's a good mate.
Yeah, banter, I would call that.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I usually record these podcasts what is 10 a.m., 10 in the morning here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
On a Saturday. But it is 10 in the morning on a Saturday for you right now because you're 15 and a half hours ahead of me. I'm
in the future.
Far.
Yes.
Well, I do definitely want to talk about what's coming in the future sometime today. But first, let's start about what's been going on in Australia and in the world over the past couple months. Because you'd almost forget that Australia had wildfires at the end of 2019 and that really hit the country. Aside from what's going on with COVID, how's it going with the country currently?
I forgot to ask you in this whether I could swear. So I'll just do what an absolute shit show 2020 has turned out to be. Obviously here in Australia, it started with the bushfires that, already started in 2019 and devastating, absolutely devastating throughout, large parts of the country, and we're now seeing, the news reports are going back to some of those really heavily impacted towns and seeing how they've recovered and heading out into the bush and seeing how nature is recovering is actually really, really nice. But it has been an incredibly tough year from a COVID perspective. As a country, we've escaped the worst of the medical impacts up until this last week, where we've had quite a big outbreak in Victoria, and Melbourne is now gone into lockdown again. We had pretty much eradicated it, which is good in one way, but not in another, in that we've painted ourselves into a corner. And how do you back down from that? How do you open up from that? So the economy is been pretty badly hit. The travel industry has been decimated. Aviation has been decimated. It's been terrible. It's been roll on 2021. I think we've tried this year. We didn't like it. We'd like to give it back, and we'd like to move on, please.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm lost for words. Really, it's really been shit.
It has. It has been, and the thing is, none of us could have foretold that this was happening. I working in the travel industry, and I happen to be the chair of the Council of Australian Tour Operators, which is the industry association for all the tour companies and wholesalers, and we represent the land supply sector of the Australian travel industry. And you have to bear in mind, Australians travel further and longer than anybody else in the world. We, because of our location, and New Zealand is probably the same. Because of our location, when we travel, it's always long haul, and it's always long and far. So the Australian government, through Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, DFAT, have got a really good infrastructure in place for helping Australians overseas and consular advice and stuff. And the body that I'm part of, CATO, we are part of an industry consultative committee. And we work with DFAT and their Smart Traveller advisory system a lot. And like I've done tours of the Crisis Management Centre in Canberra, and I know what happens behind the scenes. And from a customer perspective or from a traveller perspective, sometimes you don't see it, but I can tell you so much work went on behind the scenes during all of this to try and assist Australians overseas, and is still going on. In the middle of the worst of it, so we're talking middle of March, when all the borders and everything started closing, we had an emergency phone hookup with DFAT, and the head of the Department of DFAT was in there and said, look, 6 months ago when we did our last crisis management testing, if we had come up with this scenario, nobody would have believed us, and half the people would have left the room because it was just so inconceivable. We have a do not travel warning to New Zealand. You have to ask the federal government's permission to leave the country. There is a do not travel warning to every single country in the world, and no end in sight. So as somebody working in the travel industry and the broader aviation industry, that is incredible. 100% of our business was sending Australians overseas, or bringing overseas visitors to Australia, which is about 2%. So 98% sending Australians overseas. We can't do that. And to grasp what that is like from a business perspective, one of the guys in the travel industry here put it really well. He said, you imagine if you're running Nike, or Nike, depending on where you are in the world, or Adidas, and suddenly everybody in the entire world lost their feet, had no feet for 4 months or for 5 months, had no feet, so couldn't buy shoes. Now, I know these companies sell other stuff. What would happen? Well, that's it now. We are stopped from doing our business with no end in sight. And it's just heartbreaking to see the impact that is having on the aviation industry, on the travel industry, on all the good people that are leaving. It's fascinating in one sense because history's being made, and we know that we'll be talking about this for years. But living through it, and that's obviously not taking anything away from all of the people who have been going through the medical issues, the doctors and the nurses and stuff on the front lines, especially in other countries in the hot spots where it's been, and people that have been really heavily impacted from, personally by COVID. But I think everybody to some stage has been impacted, and it's weird.
With you wearing so many hats with CATO and Bunnik Tours, how have you had any sleep over the past 4 months? How did your days look like, especially when you had to repatriate so many Australians?
Yeah, this was a slow burn to begin with, and then it gained momentum very, very quickly. So in the beginning, we were all happy we weren't really that much into the Chinese market. So we had a few tours to China, but not many. It wasn't a big selling destination for us. And then we were happy we weren't in cruising. We sell a few cruises, but not many. But then suddenly from the beginning of March, or late February, it almost seemed like every weekend it it ramped up. There was something somewhere else. Borders closing. Suddenly it was in Egypt, and then it was in Spain, and then it was in India, and suddenly South America. And then on the 15th, 16th of March, we made the decision to suspend our entire touring program around the world. The border closures were just, it was impractical for us to run. And we thought, let's run, the tours that are overseas in areas which are not impacted heavily. They can continue to run until the tour finishes, and then the people can come home. That was on the Sunday. By the Tuesday afternoon, we were in full repatriation mode. Right? Everybody around the world, and we had, 150, 170 clients around the world. So it wasn't a peak time for us, but what it was that time of the year, just before the European season starts, was where people are in the most obscure places, in the Galapagos Islands, in Ecuador, in Peru, in Morocco, in Aswan, in places in India or the Mekong Delta, in Vietnam. So getting all of that was a nightmare. Getting them all back was a lot of work, and our operations team really worked hard to make that happen. And we're a family business, so my mother, my brother, and myself are the other three owners. And my mother, Marion, has been in the industry for 55 years or something now. So worked very closely with our general manager and our operations team to make all of that happen. At the same time, Australia was going into some sort of lockdown. So we had to get all of the staff working from home. So my brother, who most of the staff will report through to him, he was arranging that with our IT guys and our management team. Meanwhile, managing the public face and the messaging and stuff that with the policies, and I'm also responsible for finance, so the legal side of the business, sorting that out, and meanwhile with my other CATO hat on, helping to set the national policy and was a nightmare. So really for a good 6 weeks, we were on autopilot. Luckily, I never had to work from home. I did have to self-isolate at home because I'd had a trip to Sydney for 4 or 5 days waiting for a test result to come through. So I was always able to walk from work, and I live about 35 minutes walk from the office, which is nice. Adelaide was like a ghost town. We normally have 65 people in this building. We were down to 10, all on one floor. And it was weird. So, but I still managed to sleep, but it was tough because we had thousands of passengers whose holidays were cancelled, and some of them were literally rung up. They were about to get in the car and go to the airport or for a 35-day South America tour, and they get a phone call from us saying, "I'm sorry, but your tour has been cancelled." And they were the lucky ones, because the ones that left 2 days earlier on a bit of pre-thing, they were stuck in Peru for 8 days before we could actually get them home via Miami, Chicago, San Francisco, and then out that way.
Were people understanding?
Yeah, the vast majority of people were really understanding. They're supportive. We've got a lot of experience in a crisis. The biggest one that we've had in the past has been the Arab Spring and the revolution in Egypt. And I flew into, and we've also learned to be very proactive. So I flew into Cairo when the protests were getting heavy, and it turns out that the revolution broke out while I was in the air. And I was the only Australian travel manager in Egypt during the time of the revolution. So we were able to get our people out within 2 or 3 days, which was 2 days before the Australian government evacuation flights started arriving and this sort of stuff. So we have a lot of experience in these areas. and we do that well, but with that also comes expectation. And this is completely different to anything else that any of us dealt with. And there's so much uncertainty in the beginning. So you have all these holidays that have been fully prepaid, and we've paid all of that money out to all the suppliers overseas. So getting quick answers on how to get refunds quickly, or credits and stuff like that, just wasn't happening. You couldn't do it because you speak to a supplier in Kenya and all the staff are at home. All of our staff in Sri Lanka, we've got an office there which had at the time about 28 staff. They were all working from home in a really strict curfew and lockdown. They couldn't leave their houses. So trying to get answers from various suppliers, it's proved to be difficult. Most people were incredible and really, really supportive. But as in all of these situations, some people are unreasonable. Unfortunately, well, 98% were fantastic. It was my job to deal with the 2%. And it proved to be, and look, I was no different to every other travel company out there. Some people will never travel with us again, because they wanted instant answers and they wanted full refunds when it just wasn't possible, and they're never going to be happy. Other people are never going to travel with us again because we'll never accept them on another tour, right? Basically, because at the time that we needed people to be reasonable and understanding, they were the opposite. And that's the benefit of having a family business. We get to decide who goes on our tours. But as I said, the vast majority of our customers and customers around, throughout the travel industry here in Australia have been fantastic. To give you an example of that, we set up a fund for our tour guides. And this has been only sent out to our passengers and our database, and because a lot of them have got travel credits with us, and we said, well, look, you've got all of these tour guides that are doing it particularly tough at the moment because they're all freelancers, so they're self-employed, which means that in many places they fall through the cracks in terms of government support. So now our tours, this entire year in essence is wiped out, and those guides had those tours scheduled in, and some of them have been working with us for 15 years. So we set up a fund where you could donate some of your travel credit or make a donation, and we kicked it off with a $10,000 donation ourselves, and within the space of 2 weeks we've raised almost $20,000
Wow.
from the clients, which is fantastic, which is, and it's those moments and the nice letters and emails and stuff that we get, that's what keeps you going. Sometimes I say the dickheads take too much of your head space, and sometimes you're actually better off ringing people, and I've literally rung people and said, hi, I'm Dennis from Bunnik Tours, and I'm just ringing up to see why you're so angry. I've got your angry email and I just want to know why. And you defuse the situation, and at the end of the conversation, you actually have a far better level of understanding. There's a lot of angst in the world at the moment, and it's been fed by the media, and I don't know what it's like over there, but here, the travel industry didn't do a very good job in managing the public messaging, especially around people wanting full refunds, and the travel industry didn't manage it well. And in that void, the media listened to the few disgruntled, unreasonable people, and that just escalated, and suddenly travel agents were the bad guys. whereas we were the travel industry was the one that was working so incredibly hard to firstly repatriate people, Australians, and then try and undo the last 12 months of work and all these bookings and stuff that we've created. And if you're going overseas for a 3-month holiday, with multiple components and this sort of stuff, you don't just unwind that in 3 days or 3 weeks when the world's in lockdown. It just doesn't happen.
Because what actually comes in place when you are organizing a tour, it's not just like us people, when we book something like a tour, you buy a package and that's it. What happens behind the scenes when you book a tour like that?
Yeah, well, we run small group tours, and therefore our average passengers are in their 50s, 60s, and early 70s. And I'm creating at the moment. We've just released a South Australian tour. So I'm about to become a tour guide, a tour escort, and I'm escorting some tours. They were released a couple of days ago. But part of this trip that I've just done to the Flinders Ranges and last weekend I was in the Barossa Valley is doing research for this and making it happen. Now, just a simple day of leaving Adelaide and ending up in Rawnsley Park in the Flinders Ranges. And that is almost 500 kilometres from here. We're stopping past the Clare Valley. So it's where can you stop? Where do we have lunch? You're also talking about remote areas. So you come to a town, you say, oh, this might be good. And you think it's 3 houses and 1 closed down general store. Well, we're not stopping there for lunch. And then you see all of these other bits. There's so many individual components. And the things like the special experiences and stuff. We've organised these sundowner drinks, with canapes and champagne on top of a hill at sunset at the Flinders Ranges. And it's stunning, absolutely stunning. And I'm not sure the bus is going to get up here because we've got a 46-seater coach and it's a little bit steep. So then you think, okay, well, are our clients going to be able to walk up this hill, right? Where do we need to find an alternative location and this sort of stuff. Now, this is an 11-day tour, but you extrapolate that across, and our average tours are probably, 23 days long, 20 to 23 days long, around the world. There's so much work that goes on behind that. And the journey of a new tour generally starts about 18 months before the first departure in the initial concept, the idea, then creating it, then costing it, then marketing it, creating the brochure, selling it, and all of this sort of stuff. And then if 2 weeks before the tour is due to go, you have to cancel it, give everybody a full refund. Well, okay, but what about all that work you've just done for 18 months? And it's very easy for people that are outside the industry to think, oh, well, yeah, that just happens. You're in the travel industry. It's a good time. You're always traveling. It's a complex industry, and at the end of the day, nobody likes having their holiday stuffed up. So, you've got to get it. You've got to get it right. So that's what we do. What we take very seriously what we do, it's been a tough year. It's been a tough year.
Let's look into the future, though. What is the future of travel with Bunnik Tours going to look like?
Eventually, borders will reopen, and Australians will be out there rediscovering the world. There'll be a fair bit of pent-up demand, and what's left of the travel industry will ramp back up again, and we'll be selling tours. In the meantime, we're doing some tours here. So I live in Adelaide. We're based in Adelaide, which is, if Australia's like this, it's right in the middle of the bottom. A city of about 1.1 million people, and it's not necessarily on the tourist track, but we have got some incredible experiences here, some world-class wines. Most of the wines, about 60% of Australia's wine comes from here. From my office here, there's probably 200 wineries within a 2-hour drive. in 4 different wine regions. And so there's some amazing things to see, and we're going to show people our home, and that includes having. I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram or whatever. We painted our building bright red. It's an old heritage building. It's from 1928, and it used to be like a theatre. So it's got a ballroom. It's got a basement or dungeon underneath, and so we'll be showing the groups the behind the scenes tours. Behind the scenes of Bunnik Tours. Welcome drinks will be with our team here, and the hotel is literally about 200 meters. It's the old Treasury office, where the old mint, where in the early days of the colony, and it's going to be really nice. It's going to be good, but we're in a holding pattern until international borders open up again.
Mm-hmm. Let's go into something lighter.
Yes.
Because
sorry, I've hijacked all of this with my work stuff.
Well, that's okay, because it's definitely something that I wanted to talk about with you, and I think most important, for at least what I wanted to know, how are you? How are you doing now? So, but you seem to be doing fairly all right.
Look, I'm doing okay. I've had some really dark days during this, especially when I was dealing with that 2%, and it was relentless, and every day it was just horrendous. I've just had a few days up in the Flinders Ranges, and it's an ancient mountain range, 600 million years in the making. It's far away from civilization, and it's amazing. We climbed a mountain, and spent some time with my sons and my brother and his kids and my father. It was really nice. So I'm doing well. And on the way here, we parked at the Central Market, and as Julie and I were walking through the car park, some guy shouted, "Hey, Dennis Bunnik, I love your videos." So that's always a nice ego boost. So it's today I'm doing good. But it's been tough. It's actually been really nice to get back into uploading video. So I did the CATO Q Suite recently, and there's an Air Sinai A220. It's in final editing at the moment, and I've got a couple of other nicer ones coming up. So it's good to get back into that. That's been good for my mental health. Yeah,
because obviously with everything that happened, that there's been a bit of absence from you from YouTube, but it's good to have you back. So
thank you. I just didn't have the headspace for it.
Makes sense. I want to get into something lighter, because you and I are sharing a heritage.
Yes.
Even though we're not living in the country anymore, we're both from Holland. We both have Dutch passports.
Yes.
And in your early days on YouTube, by the way, congratulations on 5 years on YouTube, which you just surpassed July 1st.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I missed that.
Yes. I want to share a quick clip from one of your early videos where you are tasting some Dutch food.
Yes.
Can you just confirm if you can see the screen?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let's have a look at this.
Holland's most favourite export are these things, stroopwafels. The only problem is when they export them to places like Australia, they've been sitting on a ship for 6 weeks and they're rock hard. Or the ones they sell in Starbucks, they're just not the real thing. Stroopwafels, get the packets so you can see the syrup and stroop has been sitting on the side. Absolutely fantastic. So you pull that out like that. These things are delicious. Once you eat about 3 of them, your teeth start to fall out. So just limit your intake.
Incredible. I love the clip. It's really one of your first videos that you uploaded. But it seems like, regardless of your very Dutch surname, not a lot of people know that you're Dutch, don't they?
No, because I moved with the family. We moved here when I was 7.5, almost 8, and as a result, I've lost my my Dutch accent, and I can pass for an Aussie in the streets of Amsterdam, but I'm still a little Dutch boy at heart.
Yet when you're pronouncing these Dutch words like stroopwafel, you're having an impeccable Dutch accent though. You're doing very well. Do you still speak any Dutch at home? Or?
Yeah, een klein beetje. Yeah. It's the more I drink, the better I speak. I do speak Dutch with an accent, which is weird because I suppose it's my mother tongue. Yeah, look, I get to Holland, or actually, I got into trouble on that video with a lot of comments. So a lot of Dutchies were watching those videos and saying it's not Holland, it's the Netherlands. So I go back to the Netherlands a fair bit, but it still makes me feel weird when Mum says Amsterdam rather than Amsterdam. So it's those places, and a stroopwafel is a stroopwafel. It's not a stroopwafel or whatever, however they say it. That clip was filmed in the back garden of Uncle Ben's house. So he made that cake for me, which is a stroopwafel cake. Fantastic.
Incredible. Right here in Edmonton, there's quite a big Dutch enclave here, and right at Jasper, that's one of the main streets here in Edmonton. There's a Dutch pancake place, and they're only really open for breakfast and lunch, which is weird because Dutch people eat pancakes for dinner. But I guess they're accustomed to the Canadian eating patterns, and on their shirts of the servers who work there it says, if you can pronounce soap, you can pronounce stroop.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Stroop is not that hard. And I don't buy them here ever really, but I was in the supermarket the other day, and they actually had 3 varieties of 3 different types, or same type, but 3 different companies. I'd had one before and I knew they were bad. The other 2 I tried, and they were bad. Don't buy them here in Australia. To get the real ones, you've got to go to Amsterdam.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are there still things in your life that you do that you are more Dutch than they are Australian?
Yeah. Look, I'll generally have several opinions about one thing. I'm always right. I'm very blunt. All of those, arrogant, all of those cool Dutch traits, and funny, obviously. No, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that's typically Dutch that we do, because everybody thinks that they're normal. Mm-hmm. And it's only when you get a partner and you see how their family is, and then you realize that, maybe we're not normal, or maybe they're, so, and Australia is very much a melting pot of lots of different cultures, as is Canada and the US. So, I'm not sure if there's so many, typical Dutch things. My wife would probably say yes. I still eat a lot of cheese and still have a kaasgaaf. And
that's literally one of the things that I miss at home, because it's in the drawer in the office here. So I don't have a kaasgaaf.
we took one to the Flinders Ranges. That's how you cut cheese. It's how you do it. And bread that's fresh rather than toasted. Yeah. One of the things that really sticks out for me from my youth is the first time that I went on a school camp, and I arrived home from the school camp, and I must have been 9 or 10 or something, probably 9. It was first or second year here, and I came and I said, guess what we had for breakfast? There was like sausages and eggs and bacon and these beans that were in some sort of sauce, and my dad said, how could you have that in the morning? That's like evening food. You just have a sandwich. You have a cheese sandwich for breakfast. You don't. And a broodje kaas and a broodje hagelslag. You don't have this hot food, because didn't it make you feel sick? because it was just seen as something so foreign. Ironically, now when my dad stays at a hotel, who goes for a full English breakfast, still doesn't eat baked beans though. Still can't stomach baked beans.
Fair enough. Yeah, no.
And every now and then I will cook pancakes for dinner. I'm due to do it again.
So do I. Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny how in Holland they have the packages of pancake mix, but I learned that it's just as easy to make with flour. And
yeah. Never. Yeah, exactly. And always have a beer in the dough.
In the batter.
In the batter. Yeah. Well, about 2/3 of a beer because I drink the rest of it. Just a lager. Yeah. Helps make them a little bit lighter.
Interesting.
So here we are on the aviation YouTube channel talking about pancake recipes, people. That's the variety of life.
I mean, if you want to talk about travel, pancakes in hotels are usually crap.
Oh, they're awful. They're awful. Yeah, never have them. Never have them. And yeah, the pancakes for dinner is a really good concept.
They just don't understand it here.
No. Yeah, I know. What are they thinking?
Yeah.
At least they drain out everything there with maple syrup. That makes it better. But, yeah.
True that. Though another thing that I have in my cupboard here is apple tart mix.
Well, see, for my birthday recently, my wife Julie made me, and we actually made it together, this fantastic apple tart. She got this recipe, but it wasn't with the mix. It was fantastic. But then, Julie says, the Dutch were, they invented one type of cake and one type of sandwich and thought, that's it. They've invented the apple tart and then stopped. Down in the south, they've got different cakes and tarts and this sort of stuff.
But, yeah. You covered those in your video indeed, but I think that Dutch food is very simple, but yet I miss it dearly.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's go back to the heydays of travel when you were doing business trips, because I want to share a clip here from your Indochina business trip. Can you confirm if you can see the screen?
Here we go. Yep.
All right, there you go. So here is a video that you posted last year and this was like a sequel of a video that you shared earlier, where you went into what you do in a business trip. So let's go watch a couple seconds here.
I'm not going to go in. Time constraints mean that I can't go into the museum. However, I will be climbing a mountain up here to get some great views. So let's go and do that instead. One thing to bear in mind in all of this travel is whilst I do get to these fantastic sites, I am travelling at about 3 times the pace of a normal tourist. So I churn through a lot of sites in a very quick amount of time. That's why I actually like travelling with clients, because I get to see it at their pace, which is nice sometimes too.
So I think that traveling for work is romanticized a lot. It's something I would love to have a job where I get to travel, but is it actually as good as people think it is?
Look, I have to preface this by saying that I'm probably the luckiest work traveller out there. I see the road warriors at the airports and in lounges and stuff, and they've got their suits on, and they're going for 3 days to Europe for a couple of meetings and then flying all the way back to Australia. Or they're going to check out industrial facilities in an industrial park on the outskirts of a nondescript city somewhere. When I travel for work, I actually get to see the good places because I need to see those good places. It's just I see them at a far quicker pace than everybody else. So yes, I'm very, very lucky. And behind me here, I've still got up there was last year's travel and what I had planned for this year. And January, February, I was in Egypt, Israel, and Jordan, which was really nice. And then the whole world went to shit. the entire month of April, I was supposed to be in Europe doing tour guide training in preparation for this season. And during the month, I would literally, I think I was doing 12 different countries and training in 10 different cities over the course of a month. So it's very, very quick. Then a nice one would have been in May. I was going to be escorting the very first departure of our new tour to the 5 stands or 5 stands, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, etc., which I was, again, really looking forward to. That was with customers, so it would have been at a normal pace. Yes, I get to travel more than most, and because I am traveling at such a rapid pace, you couldn't do that flying economy class. So I do get to fly at the front of the plane, which is nice. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky. So I don't think by any stretch of the imagination I'm being hard done by having to travel so much.
Do you think your channel would do as good as it does if you fly more economy?
I don't know. See, I've come at this from a different angle than most others. I've always loved aviation and I've loved the customer experience, but I came into this to try and create videos that allows business travelers to compare airlines and to compare, and for travel agents to use them as training videos and as selling tools. They were never really trip reports as such. They were more, this is this product. And over time they've developed a bit, and as you then pick up subscribers and I was going to say following, but that seems still seems a bit weird. People start asking you more questions about what you do and why you do travel. So that's why I created that, the business trip. First, a domestic one of what I do when I travel around Australia, because a lot of my trips, I did, I think, 43 flights domestically within Australia last year. So, 737, yeah, how exciting. That's exciting.
Today it would be, but...
Oh, look, I'm flying on Thursday or on Wednesday to Canberra. I can't wait. It's my first flight in 4 months or whatever it is. So, yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with your channel though, it was indeed more aimed at like travel agents, but was there anyone before you who did the same thing, like reviewing the seed? And
to tell you the truth, I don't know, because it was one of those. There was a few that were doing reviews, but most of them were trip reports. Andy at We Can Fly 777 was doing these fantastic trip reports, and he was living in the Gulf and flying Emirates a lot. And I thought, oh, that's fantastic. But the reason I started is I upgraded on points from business to first class with Qantas, and this is just fantastic. I'd like to see what it's like. So I went onto YouTube, and there weren't any there were trip reports, but there weren't any reviews. So mainly it was people waving their mobile phones around, or like an extended 7 minutes of the takeoff, or somebody very, a full-on aviation geek talking about everything except for what's the customer experience actually like. So I thought, well, I've been doing these travel videos for the Bunnik Tours YouTube channel. I've got the equipment. Why don't I try it? So I did a couple, and it took off from there. And since then, there's been lots of others. And people that were Paul for Paul's trip reports in the UK. He was doing them at that time as well, but they were trip reports. Mm-hmm. And then he started talking to camera, and then at one stage him and I had about the same level of subscribers, and then he took off, and Jeb came a little while after me, and his subscriber count went like this, and then took off. I'm I'm not sad or bitter or jealous or anything, guys. But no, it's all, you know, we've all got our own thing. But what I was saying is, over these last sort of 3 or 4 years, there are now lots of us doing this, which is absolutely fantastic. Because in the past it was Sam and a few others, and now there's lots of us. It's fantastic.
Because right where that calendar hangs right now is where that plaque should be, right? You're so close.
Yeah, actually. Let me show you something. Now, I'll just quickly grab it.
Okay. I wonder what he's going to come with now.
Christmas, not last year, the year before, Kris Kringle happened, right? And one of the guys in our marketing department, Digi Dave, we call him. He is also aviation and enthusiast. He created for me this, which is a YouTube congratulations for surpassing 50,000 subscriber. It's a bronze button. Apparently YouTube were doing them at some stage, right? And he created this with this whole elaborate letter from YouTube, put it in a box that made it look like it came from DHL or FedEx, and all the labels and everything was fine. And I happened to be away, happened to be traveling. So I come back from my trip when all this Kris Kringle was happening. And I had no idea who it was. And I'd forgotten about Kris Kringle anyway. So I come back and there's a whole lot of mail on my desk. So I start opening this thing up and it's from YouTube. Hook, line, and sinker. Absolutely fell for it. It was the best practical joke I can get that I've ever been subjected to. And I posted it on Instagram and I posted it on Facebook, and I started getting all of these congratulations. 50,000, fantastic, congratulations. And he then wrote, about a day and a half later, he sent me a message, says, Dennis, I'm a bit embarrassed because it's got a bit out of hand, but that YouTube thing was actually me.
It's incredible. It really looks real.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And it got me right in the ego. So, he got me good. So,
incredible. But you're so close. How many left until 100,000?
I am at 98,843. And because of COVID and stuff, I didn't upload for about 3 months, and all of the numbers just went, new subscribers and stuff coming through. Now I pick up sometimes 10, sometimes 20 on a day. A couple of days ago, I went at -2, so I lost 2 subscribers during the day. So it's a long journey, but I will celebrate it when it happens.
Well,
yeah.
Hopefully, with the 1,300 subscribers that I have, there might be a couple who aren't subscribed to you yet. So maybe we can have some cross-pollination here.
Well, exactly, and hopefully
100,000.
Yeah, and hopefully my 98 can come and subscribe to your channel, because they should. You need to be having 50, 60, 70, and 100,000 subscribers.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm really glad.
And it'll happen. It'll happen.
Someday.
Suddenly, it just takes off, and it just goes weird. Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about about this platform. Anybody can do it, and have fun along the way.
Yeah, because in your, I think, 10,000 subscriber thank you video, I think you were doing YouTube for a year and a half back then. It seemed like it used to go a lot quicker than it goes right now. Like how did the first 10,000 feel to you?
First 10,000 was fantastic, and then 20,000, and I'd go to the football here or the soccer, and it's a 15,000 stadium. I thought, wow, like I've got more subscribers than fit into this stadium. And then you go to the Aussie Rules Stadium and it's 55,000, and suddenly, wow, it's like this entire stadium. And it feels weird, but as we all know, the subscriber count I've subscribed to channels and I never watch their videos. So it doesn't mean that suddenly, you're going to get 100,000 people that are waiting for your video there. It doesn't happen like that. But it's nice, and anybody that says subscriber counts aren't important are lying. Jeb and I speaking about that. Of course, it's ego driven. We all like having our ego stoked.
Fair enough, and that's why we do this podcast, so we can talk about ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's been a good ride, and I think I've been subscribed to you for about at least 3 years. And when I started doing like these first videos, and I think that when I booked the KLM 747 to go to New York on the upper deck, that was the point where I was watching all these videos, and I must have watched some of yours at that point as well. And it really was you as an inspiration to me as well to start the channel. So it's pretty cool to see that what happened over the past 2 years, that I get to talk to you right now. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, well,
see, that's the whole thing about this, where, everybody's just a person. And this genre of YouTube and this community has all come together. It's fantastic, and my hat off to you. The stuff that you're doing here with this series is fantastic. And it really is just an idea that you thought, oh, it's good, but you had that idea. Nobody else had that idea. So brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, well done.
You mentioned you're going to be flying again on Thursday for the first time in 4 months. What are you going to do? Yes.
Very, very excited about this one. I get to fly a 737 from Adelaide to Canberra, the nation's capital. But then, and I have to fly on Wednesday. Sorry, that's on Wednesday, because on Thursday there are no flights. Mm-hmm. But on Friday, it's going to be one of those bittersweet moments, and it is the final flight of the Qantas 747. At one stage, many years ago, Qantas, before they took over Australian Airlines, only had 747s. Their entire fleet was, because they only were an international airline, and their entire fleet was 747s. And next week, I think on the 22nd of July, the very last one heads off from Sydney and heads for the scrap heap in the desert in America there. And so this coming week, they're doing 3 one-hour joy flights. Mondays in Sydney, Wednesdays in Brisbane, and Fridays in Canberra. And I'm on one of them. I'm on that last flight, sitting in, and I wanted to do it in economy, because that's where the bulk of us fly. When we're flying, even me, my flights domestically are always economy unless I'm doing a points upgrade. And Paul Stewart sitting 3 seats behind me, found out. So we'll do a bit of a collaboration as well. So it's only an hour out of Canberra, but it is the last passenger service on the Qantas Boeing 747, the Queen of the Skies. So a sad moment. They are a beautiful aircraft. They're more beautiful to look at than to fly, to tell you the truth, because they're a bit like an old car from the 70s that, they're not quite as comfortable or whatever. Oh, well, they're comfortable enough, but they don't have the bells and whistles that you have on these modern aircraft. But it's sad to see them go.
So you're being Dutch and Australian. Obviously, I bet that KLM is a part of your heart as well.
It is.
How is Qantas to Australians? Is that a bit the same as how KLM is to the Dutch?
Yeah, I think so. Qantas it's the spirit of Australia. And they had some great adverts here over the years with that song "I Still Call Australia Home." You can probably find it on YouTube. And when you get on if you've been overseas and you jump on a Qantas plane, whether that be in Tokyo or South America or London or wherever, and it's almost like being home. And it's a little bit the same as if you're flying home from Rio on a KLM aircraft, it's a little bit of Holland before before you get there. And it's that familiarity of culture, especially, one of the best flights I had with Qantas was coming out of Japan on an A330, and the crew it was out of Kansai, so they don't fly every day, and the crew had just had 2 or 3 days in Japan as a stopover, and we were all just sharing travel stories with the crew. They were as excited as what we were. It's nice.
I've never understood how, I think Qantas and KLM are quite alike in how they are as an airline, especially to the people. I've never understood why they're not in the same alliance.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's One World here is very strong. Star Alliance is, or not Star, there's Sky Team, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sky doesn't really have a strong presence in Australia at all. And I think the alliance with One World is born out of our relationship with the UK and with the US. So, American and BA.
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, especially the travel industry, and to a certain extent the population, but the travel industry as a love-hate relationship with their national carrier. You talk to travel agents in Germany, and they wouldn't be great fans of Lufthansa. And travel agents in Holland would probably think that KLM is the most difficult to deal with versus the other airlines. And it's the same here with Qantas, because a dominant carrier sets the tone, mm-hmm. And often within their own travel industry, they don't have to try as hard. That said, I think Qantas has been particularly they've been good here. They've turned that around in sort of recent times.
Yeah. Are you actually
actually, in some areas in the customer service they've turned that around. In some of their commercial dealings they haven't turned that around, and they need to do some work with that. I'm talking NDC if anybody's listening from Qantas.
With all the different airlines that you fly all the time, do you actually play the points game?
Yeah, well, for me the points is it's One World. So I'm a Qantas Platinum frequent flyer. My credit cards are linked to my Qantas frequent flyer. So that's how that's where I rack up my points. I'm lucky because through work credit card I collect quite a few points, and through flying I collect quite a few points. So I don't have to play the game as hard as the full-time aviation YouTubers and and others out there. I do have some points with Air France and with Star Alliance with United.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, another thing that you have quite a few signature things that happen in your videos, like when you board the plane, you touch the side of the door. But another signature of yours are your PJs, for which I want to share a quick clip here. And I hope that it works right the first time.
Yes, it has.
Perfect. All right. Let's watch a couple seconds here.
Long-haul Qantas business class flight means guarantee of one thing, and that is in-flight pyjamas. Now, regular viewers will know that I'm a great lover of in-flight pyjamas because they just make a trip far more comfortable. So let's have a look what the Qantas in-flight pyjamas look like these days. Here we go. So here they are. The big kangaroo on the front, and grey all the way down. Now remember, as soon as you've got your pyjamas on, you are confined to the business class cabin, because if you go wandering through the aircraft in premium economy or economy class with your business class pyjamas on, everybody's going to think you're a dickhead. So stay in the business class cabin where everybody's wearing these, so it's one big pyjama party for the next 15 and a half hours to Perth.
There must be a story behind you saying that, because you've said it a couple of times in the videos. What's the reason for you saying that?
Australia has very much the tall poppy syndrome. Right? If you think you're better than other people, right, or act like you're better than other people, you'll get taken down pretty quickly. So ostentatious shows of wealth, or the class system that they have in other countries, we don't have that here. So if you become a bit full of yourself or whatever, you're a dickhead. So if I was to walk with that, with my Qantas business class PJs through the economy class cabin, people were going, "What's this dickhead doing?" And unless you're an economy class passenger who has previously flown business class, right, and you do wear the PJs, right, then, and you wear them in economy class, then that's fine. But if you're just a person going for a stroll through the plane, or you wear them going through customs and stuff, no, you can't do that.
Actually,
but those airline PJs are fantastic. We were camping in the Flinders Ranges, and I had, we were camping, and I had Emirates first class PJs on at night in my sleeping bag.
I actually saw a comment under one of, I think maybe your most recent video. Someone was asking you whether they can expect a calendar with you with your PJ pictures.
Yeah, why not?
I've been lucky enough to fly in BA first and Cathay first. So I have 2 pairs of pajamas, and honestly, I would never buy PJs, but the Cathay PJs are fantastic.
Yeah.
BAs are flimsy and thin. Then they're great.
Yeah. I haven't flown BA first. In fact, we were due to, and then it was the from London to Tel Aviv in January, and we missed the flight.
What?
Yeah, we missed the connection from we flew with, it was a points trip with my son, and we missed it from London to from Sydney to London with Qantas first, and then we were supposed to connect on with BA first down to Tel Aviv in points, and unfortunately, we missed. It was a tight connection. We missed it. So the next flight was on the A350, which was fantastic. It was on the A350, but didn't have first class. So I still haven't tried BA first class. I believe it's like a very good business class. But
to be honest, I haven't tried enough business class to be able to say so, and I find myself privileged enough to be able to say that I have flown first class. Do you think though that first class is really a big step up compared to business class?
Look, it is depending on the carrier, but yes, but generally it is. It's not as big a jump from economy to business. That's a far bigger jump. From business to first, it's less of a jump. But if you're looking at, say, the big carriers and on the bigger aircraft, Emirates, Etihad, where they fit a lot. It's a very big business class cabin. The Qantas on the A380, it's a very big business class cabin. It's a very small first class cabin, so that the space you have is far bigger. The attention to detail, the service, the personalised service is far greater than even in business class, because there are just so many that they've got in business class. But I think this the golden era of flying with the A380s and Qantas now. They had first class only in their 747s, the older style, and on the A380s. Now the A380s are all being parked for 3 years in the desert. That Qantas doesn't expect demand for the A380s to return for 2-3 years. So that means that they're going to be flying. They won't have a first class product, for the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
So will it ever return? And when the A380s are gone, will Qantas have a first class?
Well, what do
Probably
you think is going to happen with the future of travel anyway? Do you think that first class is something that's going to be disappearing?
I think it will contract. It will continue to contract. I think, between the big cities, the real iconic cities, they'll continue, New York, London, Paris, etc. But beyond that, probably not. Which is sad from an aviation perspective, but at the same time, there's such a few. It's such a limited product, and so few people can actually afford to fly it, or even have the points to be able to fly it. That most people won't miss it because most people never get to fly it. Mm-hmm. So I consider myself very lucky that I've been able to do it. Yeah,
because it really is, and I said this in the intro of the video. It does look like you're always flying first class, but hearing that you fly 50 domestic 737 flights that you can't see on the channel, but how do you think?
Well, it's like Jeb's CRJs. You're not going to do a review on them, but you're spending an awful lot of time on them. It just doesn't make for great viewing.
Yeah, true that. Although I think for me as a smaller channel, if you're trying to keep a consistent upload schedule, I simply don't have the funds to fly economy as much. Definitely not business class. So to keep some content on the channel as a smaller channel, you don't really have a choice but flying and covering economy, which is also good for viewers because that's the bulk what people fly and want to see, right?
Yeah, and that's where you guys are incredibly lucky in the Northern Hemisphere. In North America and in Europe, you have got such an amazing array of destinations and aircraft and airlines that you can fly. So you look at Blake's channel, the number of trips that he does and haven't tried this route with this airline. And yes, it may be an A320 again or a 737, but it's what's this airport like? What do you see along the way? What's that airport like? What's this airline like? You can't do that here. There's 7 cities in Australia, that have decent sized airports that so the airfares are, a reasonable cost. And it's all 737s or an A320, not much more than that. And to fly internationally, the closest international destination from Adelaide is 4.5 hours to Auckland, or 6.5 hours to Bali.
Because Australia is as big as the US in landmass, right?
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
I don't
but
think a lot of people
it's got
realize
bugger all population. So you guys are really lucky in that the content that you're able to create because you've got so many more options there. Especially Edmonton probably a little bit less so. But if you're living in New York or you're living in London or Birmingham or wherever in the continent, there's lots of options. But for you fly down to the US and you can go anywhere.
It's true. It's for me, like I'm around the corner of the US and I can just hop over the border, and there's so much to fly there, and I think it's really enriched the content on my channel, although I don't see myself traveling internationally a lot in the future. So I'm really confined to here in Canada. There's a lot of cool airlines, but a lot of it is just so expensive. Just trying to get from here to Toronto, which is about a 2.5 hour flight, would cost me at least $300 one way. Yeah. Whereas in Europe, you can fly, you have EasyJet, you got Ryanair and Wizz Air and all the cheap airlines. Vueling, which you have flown in your channel as well. Do you know how you pronounce it?
Vueling, Velling, Walling, Welling. something like that. It's a Spanish one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there is a lot to cover, and it's a lot cheaper in Europe than it is here. But I think then what you can cover here in North America is a lot more fun.
Yes. Yeah. Well, exactly. It's those smaller ports and those obscure destinations and stuff. So my channel will never be one where I'm doing weekly uploads because even though I fly a lot, it's just not interesting. Another overnight business trip to Sydney or up and down for the day, or this one's to Brisbane. Yeah. There's not much to see.
The Air Sinai, though, that you're going to be uploading next week, that is a pretty obscure airline, though, right? I saw a documentary about them, or some infotainment video about them. There's some.
Was that a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Because that video, it was one of those entertainment sort of like info channels that did it. My Air Sinai review video that I did 2 years ago suddenly skyrocketed in views as a result.
The video was like, you need to know people and call people and then know another person who might be able to buy a ticket for you. But how are you able to fly in Air Sinai, though?
That's how it used to be. And that's how it used to be. Now it's you need to go to it. There's a couple of travel agents in Cairo where you can get the tickets, and we get group bookings and stuff because our Egypt, Israel, and Jordan tour uses that route. Mm-hmm. I've flown it a couple of times, and the recent one was on the A220.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that, but Egypt Air have picked up a number of A220s which they're flying domestically now, and they've happened to have a naked one, which is all white, unmarked, and whilst Air Sinai is owned by Egypt Air and run by Egypt Air, it is a separate airline, and it's all political because it's the only air link between Egypt and Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
go on.
No, carry on.
Which is weird because Royal Jordanian, for example, flies into Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
So the relationship, I think, with Israel and Jordan is far stronger than it is with Egypt and Israel.
Yeah. Let's not go too deep into politics here because that'll destroy the comments.
Yes. One world, one people.
Exactly. So when are we able to expect that video coming up to your channel?
Hopefully in the next week. I will send the final edits through tonight to the video editor. And this is the other thing. I don't do my own editing, which is why my videos are, they look good. Because I don't do the editing. I get somebody to do it for me. Yes, yeah. He's a good friend of mine and professional video editor.
Yeah, you've never kept it a secret, so
no,
it's all right.
No.
So how do you do the voiceovers then?
So what I do is I record the trip, put all of the video files into folders. Mm-hmm. So airport, takeoff, boarding, food and service, and then I write a script. So do the storyboard and write the script with the voiceovers, record them on a little voice recorder, mm-hmm. and then I send those audio files with the script and all of the clips, and if I want specific clips put into a video, I'll say, look for this bit, use this, and then put the clip number stuff in. That Air Sinai one would be really nice because for the first time ever, I flew in over the center of Cairo. We flew right over the city center, and being a brand new aircraft, and the A220's got big windows, got a fantastic view. So I've got some really nice views of the city center. And Egypt is amazing because or Cairo is amazing, 20 million people, so you've got this sprawling metropolis. And I love the shapes and patterns as you come in over a city. So it's some really nice footage there.
I'm really looking forward to that video. That's going to be a good one. Cool. I want to move on to the questions from viewers, because like we do with every video, I announce them on my Instagram and Twitter, so you can send in questions for the guest of the week. So if you do not follow me on Instagram or Twitter yet, make sure to do so, and make sure to follow Dennis on Twitter and Instagram as well. So you can follow his. He's mentioned his
and
Instagram.
Subscribe to Robin's channel, right? Subscribe. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, right, and the notification bell. Make it happen. Then get onto Twitter and on Instagram, because I believe it or not, we had 0 questions for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we need more subscribers. Let's make it happen.
I had a couple of questions for you. The first one's from a fellow Dutchie as well. Daniel Tibben is asking what your all-round favorite airline is.
All-round favorite, I think the one that does it best across both economy and business class, I haven't flown in first class, is CATO. Mm-hmm. They've raised the bar in terms of service standards and stuff. But I also have a real soft spot for Qantas, especially the last few years, their service levels and stuff. And I get on really well with the crew. Their lounge staff are fantastic. And it's comfortable. Okay.
A little biased.
And a little biased, yes.
And then the second follow-up question is what your favorite first class is of all the ones you've tried.
Favorite first class, without a doubt, is that Singapore Airlines suite. That was, flying that with my wife, Julie, and having the double cabin was just an insane experience. That's
an incredible seat. Like it moves all around your cabin, right?
Yeah. It's like a dentist chair. It's like this big armchair that swivels, goes back, and the TV comes out, and then the bed is like you have on a train or something. It folds out, and it's a proper bed. That said, the Etihad apartments, first class apartments, are fantastic. Their bed is, again, really good. You've got a great amount of space. You've got a shower on board. Mm-hmm. But I think the Singapore Airlines one, and flying together obviously made that. But that said, I haven't had a bad first class flight. Let's not kid ourselves. Every first class flight is pretty special.
Excellent. Then next question is from Toronto Pearson Air Spotter, and he's asking you what your favorite destination is and why.
Favorite destination, my safe space, the place I like to go most is a beach south of Adelaide, 45 minutes from here, called Port Noarlunga. You'll see photos of that appear on my Instagram from time to time. That's where I grew up. I was a lifesaver there. It's so friends down there. My in-laws still live down there. Internationally, I love all travel, and how can you compare somewhere like Kenya or Tanzania or the Victoria Falls with Europe? Mm. If I could go to Europe for 3 months every year, I would. But then every part of Europe has got something.
Yeah. I
so not one spot. Yeah.
Fair enough. I can imagine you
love Egypt.
being young, growing up on a beach with long hair and a surfboard, like a classic Aussie.
Yeah, I didn't have too just long hair. I'd bleached blonde hair, as many of us did in the 80s, and I used to wear this big sombrero and old baggy army shorts and a white shirt. I'd be traipsing down Port Noarlunga.
Incredible. Next question is from Blake. He's asking, how long does it take you to get camera ready? The hair surely doesn't style itself.
There's a few takes where I've done the closing piece to camera. I've just gone off a plane and the hair's sticking out like this. I should be traveling with hair and makeup. Sadly, I don't. So it's generally. That was a fantastic flight.
Incredible.
So I don't wear caps to cover up my bad hair.
Wait. He doesn't have hair.
I'm looking at you, Blake. I don't know whether he's got hair or not. I've never seen him without a cap. I was supposed to catch up with him, but the schedules didn't work out. But I look forward to catching up with Blake and having a few beers.
Yeah, I met him in Toronto in November last year. We did a video together. It was really good to meet him. So yeah.
Yeah. And his wife looks really cool as well, so she can join us for a beer too. She seems really cool.
She likes the banter as well, so.
Yes, good.
And the next 3 questions, and I'll tell you exactly who it was right after I've asked them, are rapid fire questions. So,
okay.
What's the best U.S. city?
Greensboro, North Carolina.
What's the best airport in the United States?
JFK, TWA Hotel. That's even better than that Piedmont Triad Airport, which comes in a very close second.
And finally, please name the official sales training company of Dennis Bunnik Travel's YouTube channel.
Well, without a doubt, the best sales training company out there, not just in the USA, but globally, is the Brooks Group. These guys have been doing it for so long. They know what they're doing. Right? They can take your company from here to here, right? And then if you slip backwards and you start to stuff it up again, they'll see it, right? And they'll take you to that next level, right? And they'll keep doing that to achieve everything that you want to achieve. So you need any sorts of sales training for your team, it's the Brooks Group.
Jeff Brooks, indeed. Yeah, I let him know that you were going to be on a podcast today, and he immediately came back with the questions. So just such a great guy.
Yeah, he is. He's lots of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And very passionate about his business, life and his channel, and aviation. He has done some. I'm very, very jealous. Some of his behind the scenes videos and experiences that he's been able to have. That flight attendant training and the being a baggage handler. I'd love to do that, or sitting in a control tower. Love to do that.
Yeah. If only you had the 100,000 subscribers.
Exactly.
It opens doors.
I will be forever held back. Apparently, it's it does. But I don't have Jeb's personality either. So,
Fair enough.
What can I do?
Anyway, I want to move on to the very last part of the podcast that you've definitely been looking at for. Name the plane. How confident do you feel about identifying aircraft?
I am feeling very unconfident. As I said before, up in the Northern Hemisphere, you guys have lots of small planes and lots of narrow body aircraft and lots of options and stuff. Here, when I see a little plane fly, that's a little plane. When I see a wide body, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So it's only the wide body aircraft that I ever really looked at. Although now I look at everything. So we'll see how we go.
All right. So as well, with every episode, we have a part of the video where we have the guest identify planes. And current leaderboard looks as following. Alex Braglowski is still on top with 16. So plane came into second place last podcast with 14. Billy from the first episode is still on 13. Jeb Brooks is sharing the fourth place together with John Tricity from Tricity Traveling with 12. Then Fly Around Blake had 8, and Noel Phillips, he only had 5. And today's photos are by Jeb Brooks himself, the spotter. So he was very, very happy to help me out with the podcast for this episode. So all the photos that you're going to be seeing, Dennis, are taken by Jeb.
Okay, can I just say CRJ 200 as my standard answer for everything, unless it's something else. Thanks, Jeb. I'm aiming for 3. If I get 4, that'll be brilliant.
Cool. Let me share the screen with you, and then I'll get a timer. And of course, if you want to play along at home, get some piece of paper. You can pause the video here, play along, and let me know in the comments down below how many you had. Get my old phone out here for... Oh, I still have the timer running from last time. 320 hours.
I might need that long.
Can you see the logo?
Yes.
There you go.
All right. I'm not nervous at all.
No.
If you've got 26 options here. Am I seeing that correct?
Yes.
Right.
I prepared just in case.
Yeah. In case I'm super quick.
Exactly. Or in case you pass a lot. Because you also have that option, of course.
Oh, good. Okay.
So if you don't know what it is, then you can always pass. So, Dennis, if you are ready, then we're going to start the timer and
right,
show you the first picture. You have 1 minute to identify as many aircraft as you can.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
That's a United. I'm going to say a 767.
757.
There you go. That is I should know this. That's a Fokker 100 something, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
737?
67.
7. Okay, there you go. So we don't have them anymore. Is this an A220?
Yes.
CRJ?
Yes. That's enough. Yes.
Yeah. That's one of those TriStar ones. We don't have them here either. It's
DC-10.
FedEx. A DC-10. There we go. A BAE 100. So I no idea. Air Baltic.
Q400.
Oh, Q400. I've flown one of them to Canberra before. A340.
Yes. Time. You got 2. You almost got
A330.
Yes, but out of time. Well, you got 2. So not you were able to identify something, but
so I got 2.
Yes.
Oh, that's sad.
A minute is very short. Well, someone's got to be at the bottom, right?
I always thought a minute was a long time. Yeah, somebody has to. Well, that's right. I'm there to make everybody else feel better.
Yeah.
So Alex got 16.
Alex got 16, but he's a plane spotter.
Yeah, see, yeah.
I think he spends like 20 hours a week, alongside the runway. So.
Yeah.
You spend about that time in an aircraft, so that's different, right?
Yes, yeah. It's very difficult to see from the inside what they are.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. And with that, we've reached the end of the podcast. And I want to ask you, how did you find being on the show?
It was, to tell you the truth, it was very frightening. At first, I was afraid. I was petrified. No, it was fantastic. Really, really good. Thank you for having me. I'm not sure people want to hear me for this long. I'm really good in small doses. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of drop-off rate you have. If you are still listening, wake up. It's time for bed. But thank you for listening. Robin, thanks for doing this. Really, really appreciate it. I will get up to Edmonton again one day, and let's grab one of those breakfast pancakes.
Yes, let's do that. And then I'll come to Adelaide to that bright red building.
Yes, yeah. Let's we'll show you and all the delights of South Australia, the red wines and everything that's on offer here.
I love me a good red wine, so that'll be fun. Well, Dennis, thank you so much. Who would you like to see on a future episode on the podcast? Who would you like to nominate?
I reckon Paul Stewart from Wollongong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll be a good laugh. He'll be good, and Paul Lucas as well will be good.
The Pauls, yeah.
The Pauls.
That'd be a lot of fun. You know, I think
Yes.
Paul Stewart would be an excellent guest on the podcast. He's
and he'll be actually really good at the. He'll not only tell you the aircraft, but tell you what sort of engines are hanging off the wing.
Well, you're gonna be flying with him on Friday, so right? What's that?
Yes, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
So-
looking forward to it. So that should, and hopefully we'll get a good video out of that too. So that'll come up in a couple of weeks' time on the channel as well. Quick final plug of the final Qantas 747, the Queen of the Skies, before she flies off into the sunset.
And let that be your video that pushes you over the 100,000 subscriber milestone.
How good would that be?
That would be amazing. That would be a sad and a good day at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Dennis, thank you so much for your time, for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
I had a lot of fun. Well, thank you very much for watching for the past hour and a half. It's been another long one, but I know I had a lot of fun here today. Thank you, Dennis, for staying on the show, and thank you for watching it to the end if you made it. And next week, I'm going to be back with another trip report and trying out WestJet to see how they're doing during COVID-19. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next week. Bye.